Hello and welcome to the Mighty Electronic Box for the week of 3rd of June 2013. Um, as much as we had hoped that this would be a three-man cast this week, it appears that John still isn't here for some reason. We're hoping he might turn up, hopefully before the end of the show. That'd be nice.
Now we're not. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, I guess
Thinking
I guess
he's
you're right.
too fucking cool for us.
As you can tell, Joe is here with me and as rude as ever. And I guess we're going to
What are you
talk
talking
about video games. Joe, have you played any video games?
I have played some video games.
Or have you just been abusing people all week?
I've been doing that too. Been doing plenty of that. But I also played some video games this week.
Did you do both at the same time?
Yes. No, because I didn't play anything multiplayer. So technically.
Oh.
But anyway. Yeah, I did play some shit this week. What did I play? I mainly played some PS2 games and Xbox games, really. Had kind of a tidy up and shit of my unit and consoles that, wasn't using and all that stuff. I'll start with the PS2, I guess. I played quite a bit of Tekken 5 this week.
Why?
Because I really wanted to play an old Tekken game.
Uh-huh.
Since I've got more into Tekken Tag 2 and the more complex stuff in Tekken, I really had no idea that was in the game, to be perfectly honest. I never really I've always been a fan of Tekken, but I've never really been super into the competitive aspects of it. And since more getting into that side of fighting games, I've discovered more about that kind of shit in Tekken.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just going back and playing Tekken 5. It was really, really cool. That game is a lot faster than Tag 2. I actually did go back and play the original Tag, the first Tekken Tag Tournament game. And in comparison, it just felt really, really slow. The moves just felt slower to come out. A lot of the characters in Tekken, they keep a lot of their signature moves throughout the game, throughout each game. Kazuya's forward neutral, down forward electric. He's got that in pretty much every game, I think. I haven't really played 2 and 3 in a very long time, but he has that his forward 3. Yoshimitsu has kind of his B&B combos. They keep a lot of their signature stuff. So going through previous games, it was easy to test out each move and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a really, it felt a lot slower than Tekken 5. Tekken 5 especially, and Tekken Tag 2. Tekken 5 felt like playing Tekken Tag 2 on turbo mode or something. I still haven't got down backdash cancelling very well in Tekken Tag 2. For anybody that doesn't know, that's when it's just a way of cancelling backdashes so you can move really, really fast. You can cancel your dashes into any other kind of movement. And it's a key element of causing people to miss attacks, and then you can kind of follow up and do your own stuff. I've got pretty good with that in Tekken Tag 2, but only with one character, and trying that supposedly is different with other characters, but I'm not really good enough yet to know the particulars of that. But it just felt so much faster in Tekken 5. I was going back to it, I was like, this just feels ridiculously fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just played quite a lot of that, really. I was just playing the arcade mode, just playing Tekken on my own.
Tekken.
Like the good old days. And that's still really good. And one of the few PS2 games that's aged pretty well. That game still looks pretty damn good, Tekken 5. That was easily one of the best looking PS2 games ever. And that game still looks pretty damn good. Your kind of generational gaps are pretty obvious. Poly counts are obviously a hell of a lot lower.
Yeah.
But visually, that game still looks really nice. And other PS2 games, what else did I play? I played some Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. MK9 kind of reawakening my love for fighting games and MK in general. I thought I'd go back and play some of the, how should we put this, less highly regarded Mortal Kombat games.
What did you expect that to achieve?
Of the series? I don't know, I just felt like going back and playing it. I guess this will tie into when we talk about the new Xbox for my kind of urge to go back and play older games. But
yeah,
I went back and played some of that. And God, that game is so fucking bad. I remember at one point.
Is that the? No, that's not the FMV one, is it?
No, that was Mythologies. That was Sub-Zero Mythologies.
Right.
Deadly Alliance was the first PS2 Mortal Kombat game. It was the second 3D one. Mortal Kombat 4 was their first 3D Mortal Kombat game, and then Deadly Alliance was their first PS2 Mortal Kombat game. And for a long time, my favorite Mortal Kombat game of all time. I shit you not, that was my favorite. I think, although a large part of that probably was because I learned every character in the game, and nobody I knew could beat me, so I probably had a lot of fun just winning all the time. But that is its own thing. Yeah, that game's just really bad. Like, it just feels so shitty to play. Like, there's no, like, kind of combo customization in it. You can't really come up with your own stuff. Like, the way the fighting system works is, you have your 3 separate styles, and you switch with them with L1. And each style has, like, its own combos attached to it. And you have, like, style branching combos that are just, button inputs that you have to memorize. But you can't really do anything like... just in MK9, for example, like you can do like a standard launcher and then say do like a follow-up string and then maybe do like and end it in an X-ray or something like that. Like, a really basic kind of custom combo that you can just kind of come up with yourself. You can't really do anything like that in Deadly Alliance because like seemingly none of your special moves will actually link into a combo. One of my kind of bread and butter launches with Scorpion in that game was you just do like 2, 3, 4, and that will kind of pop him up, like pop the opponent up into the air. And I was thinking, like, I wonder if I can, like, throw out the spear to kind of pull him back down to the ground. And you can't actually do your spear after a launching move in that game. It just won't let you do it. Like, you can put in the input, but nothing will come out. It's really weird. I didn't really test it with any other characters. I kind of, realized pretty quickly that game wasn't as good as I remembered it. And moved on to something else. So maybe that's character specific, but you definitely can't do it with Scorpion. And he was like kind of my main in that game, but yeah, like there was still some interesting stuff in that game though. I still think it had some of the coolest like Mortal Kombat backgrounds I think are in that game. Like that had some really awesome stages. There was this one stage with like they were like kind of Buddha-esque like demonic statues that like when you stood near them, they like spat out acid on the floor, and like if you or your opponent were standing in it, like that would actually drain your health. And there's just a weird like circle around, like kind of when you go back and play like some of the older games, like like Injustice has just come out, and the Interactables. I'm actually surprised at this, but like the Interactables are actually got quite a lot of positive feedback. Like quite a few people like the Interactables in the environment. Like they think it adds a new level to kind of the overall depth, and it's something new. That is something a bit different in a fighting game. And like that in Deadly Alliance is just one example of like, yeah, that was in this game, which is really, really fucking old, but they really did it badly here because this kills you. Like, for example, if you're doing a combo to an opponent near that, like, acid-spitting statue, it will kill you as well. Like, it drains your health, like,
Brilliant.
While you're hitting the opponent. So it's like, yeah, this isn't really doing me any... I might as well do my combo away from this, so only the opponent takes damage. So, yeah, it's just cool to go back and, like, see older stuff. I've always liked doing that, but that's pretty much it for MK. It's... I still like that game for, the memories that I have playing it. Some really good, like, offline sessions with friends, like, just playing that game. And people's excuses. I think excuses are one of the best part about fighting games when people lose. But, yeah, that's pretty much it for that. It's still cool. It's still cool, even though it's not very good. Right. What else did I play on the good old PS2? Well, I also played Onimusha 2. Played through probably about half of that, I think. And god damn, they need to give me another Onimusha game. Dude, I think I'm going to go and play through 4 actually this week, because 4 was the one where those games were basically just like glorified mods for Resident Evil. It's like, it's weird going back to them. Like, you move in exactly the same way, you have your like D-pad movement.
Yeah.
There is some like unique stuff in there for movement. I think they brought it in. It might have been in 1, but I think they might have brought it in 2. I can't remember. Where you're holding down like the R1 button, which is your like ready stance button. And in that you can actually like kind of tap up, back, left, or right, and you'll do like a dash. You'll do like a quick dash that will cover more ground, and it's kind of a way of making that D-pad movement feel a lot more like analog style movement without it actually being analog style movement. But it works pretty well for what it is. Yeah, and just played through quite a bit of that. Have you ever played an Onimusha game? Or
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. I would say you should go back and play them. if you don't mind kind of dated controls on that, like it's they still control well. They're not unplayable. It's just always awkward having to use the D-pad to move. I just realized I could play that on a PS3 with my fight stick hooked up to it. Because the fight stick registers as a D-pad. Oh man, I'm so doing that. Anyway, yeah, well, I guess a little bit of history then is in order for the uninitiated. Onimusha, set in like feudal Japan times.
Yeah.
And there's like demons everywhere, like it's like a demon invasion. You play as a samurai, and you have to kill demons, and there's a story, which is...
There's a story? Holy shit.
Yeah, it's kind of shitty. It's one of those... It was one of those things, like... I mean, it's 2002, I think, Onimusha 2 came out. And at that point, like, game stories, for the most part, even now, are still complete garbage. And I think that was, like, an interesting time where, like, there's quite a lot of older games that have good stories, but nobody really knew how to tell a story in a video game at that time, like, and tell it well. Like,
Yeah.
I've always thought that was the case with the old school Resident Evils. If you actually take aside the terrible voice acting, shitty, and everything else that makes those games shitty on a story level, the actual story of Resident Evil is really interesting and completely fucking bonkers, but it's told so badly, like, that you can't really appreciate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's told so badly that it's like, yeah, this is like, the story you have here is actually really interesting. You have fucking zombie fucking frogs, man. Like, yeah, that is cool. Like, giant zombie frogs that kill people. That is undoubtedly interesting. But the story is told so poorly that it's B movie stuff. It's B movie grade material. And I mean, maybe there's no way to make zombie frogs, not seem B movie material. But anyway, I digress.
I don't know. Earth Defenders. What's that game called? Earth Defense Force 2011. What's it called? The one I'm thinking of. The one with giant bugs.
If it has giant frogs in it, I'm interested.
The game's just like loads of giant bugs. And it's like a really budget game, but apparently it's awesomely fun.
Oh no. That sounds interesting though. But anyway, yeah, back to Onimusha. It's third person melee, very very simple, like third person melee. There's no kind of like free form to it at all. You have like just a general attack string, which is just square square square. You have like R1 as your kind of like aim and ready move, and that will, like, if you do like R1 and back on the analog stick and square, it's a similar sort of combat system to the original Devil May Cry in terms of how it functions, and not in terms of how it actually plays out, if that makes sense. Like, the execution to do some things is quite similar, but there's a lot more to like the combat in Devil May Cry than there is in Onimusha. And if you press like R1 and forward, you'll get like a stabbing move, which is like your advancing move, which can kind of cover more ground. They actually went into more of that with Onimusha 2, because I think they did a better job of separating the weapons in that game. The first game just had like 3 swords, one of which was like a reskinned samurai sword that was slightly more powerful, one of which was like a big heavy sword that was slow and really really powerful, and another one that was like really small and really really fast but not as powerful. And in 2 they actually have you have your regular sword, you have a spear, and obviously the spear has got a lot more reach than any other weapon. You have like the double-ended sword, which is really fast and powerful, and you have this giant fucking warhammer that is easily one of the most badass weapons ever. It's so fucking cool. And what else? You get like a bow and arrow and shit in it as well, but it's mainly like, like your 4 main weapons are what you have, and they all have like an element attached to them. Like your sword is lightning, the spear is ice, the double-ended sword is wind, and the hammer is like earth. So it's all like different assignments to that, and that kind of functions into their magic attacks and stuff, which is like your special move, I guess. But the thing I really like most enjoyed about going back to that is the combat system in itself is very simple. It's it's block and then attack or whatever. But the thing that sets it apart is the critical system, which my retention of which was a lot better than I thought, to be honest. And there's 2 ways that the critical system works. If you press attack directly before an enemy's attack is going to connect with you, you'll do just a critical slash, and that will instantly kill any enemy apart from a boss.
Sounds like Dark Souls.
Although you can critical hit bosses, but I'll get into that in a minute. The critical attacks on regular enemies, though, it'll be an instant kill and you'll get more money. When enemies die, they give out souls, and you can hold down circle, and you can like pull in souls, and that's how you like upgrade your swords, upgrade your armor, and stuff like that. And there's deflect criticals, and deflect criticals are where you like press block just before an enemy attacks you, and then you follow it up with a follow-up attack. They deal, I can't remember how much it is, but they deal a certain amount of damage. Like they're still insanely powerful, and on the regular difficulty, I think they still instant kill pretty much everything. But they don't give you as much money. Like, you know, the regular like critical hit system gives you the most amount of money. And yeah, like that, I just really like that system. I like kind of found my groove again with it pretty quickly. I remember like the time I like really got to the point where I felt like I'd mastered that system was in Onimusha 3. When I very first played the first Onimusha game, I remember playing that mainly at a friend's house because my friend was the one that had it, and it was like, you know, this was in the day where, you know, you went to your friend's house to play games. And like every time you do like a critical attack by fluke, it was this awesome thing, like, because it's a pretty awesome effect when you do it. You get this like blinding flash like in the direction of your slash when you go through them, like you travel through the enemy. I'm still not sure to this day if it's the frame rate sucking or the game is supposed to slow down when you do it. No. But it looks really, really cool. I know you get like this awesome like, you know, kind of like sword / sound effect and stuff. It's really flashy, like it looks really cool. And when you ever did one by fluke, you know, it was one of those things, you know, it was like there's like 2 or 3 people, you know, like playing the game, like one's playing, like taking turns and shit, and you see it happen, it's like, oh, that's awesome. When you actually master that system, it's nowhere near as fun because because all you're doing, like when I was playing it today, it took me about half an hour to really kind of find my like timing again for it.
Yeah.
And all I was doing was just standing there. I was like, yep, attack me, boom, critical hit, you're all fucking dead. That's it. Like, yeah. I was like, yeah, this is way less fun because like when like how I'd played it before was, you know, you'd be in the middle like kind of button mashing your way through it, and then all of a sudden you get this awesome attack that would just like level like 4 dudes at once, and you'd be like, fuck yeah, I'm awesome. But you did it by complete fluke, and you know when you're doing them intentionally, it's like, yeah, I'm just standing here. Really, I'm really just exploiting this system.
So being good at the game
makes it way less fun, apparently.
Makes it less impressive.
Yeah, I guess. And but anyway, and it makes it a lot easier too because when you kill enemies with critical hits, they give you a shitload more money. So like, you know, you can upgrade your weapons a lot faster than you usually would be able to. But still a really good game. One of the things I really like about it is I think the setting is really, really, really good. The medieval Japan setting is it's still pre-rendered backgrounds and stuff, but I think like the advantage to them is, you know, they still look pretty good with age. Like the character models and stuff definitely don't look as good, but like the backgrounds and stuff look really nice. One trick I know that I think they did it in another game. I can't remember. It was another Capcom game. But all their water is actually pre-rendered water. It's like live footage of actual water that's like layered over their pre-rendered backgrounds. So when you get into places, there's one bit right near the beginning of the game that has this lake on it with like a gushing current in the lake. And because it's pre-rendered water, it looks amazing. Like it still looks really cool. Like, you know, if you look at it for too long, you can see like the illusion breakdown. But like, you know, when you're just running past it, you're like, wow, that water looks really, really good because it's real water, but still.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for Onimusha 2. Like it aged better than I thought it would, I guess, is one good thing to say about it. And I just think that's one franchise I'd love to see brought back. From what I can remember of the 4th game, they really went in some different ways in the 4th game. The first game was a fairly standard like Resident Evil clone with a skin on it. It was like how Dino Crisis was like Resident Evil with dinosaurs. You know, Onimusha was Resident Evil with swords and demons. You know, and some cool like magic stuff thrown in on top. But in Onimusha 2, they brought in like a few light RPG elements. There's like a friend system and a gift giving system. And throughout a certain point in the game, there's one of, I think it's 4. Yeah, 4. There's 4 like like potential friend characters in the game, and you can give them gifts throughout the course of the game. You're constantly going back to this like hub area in the game where they're all at, and you can like give them gifts, and that will actually determine like at a certain point in the game you'll take over as one of those characters, and whoever one you have like the strongest relationship with is the character you'll play as. And the characters themselves are all very, very different. There's Eke, which is like the fat alcoholic spear guy. What's the other one called? There's Magoichi. He's like the gun dude, and he uses. I really hated when I got him as my character because like I was, this was cool because I got to use swords, and I'm now stuck as this dude that's using fucking guns. This is lame. There's a ninja, which is one of the most annoying characters ever. And spoiler alert, it's best when he's your character because that's how you get that motherfucker killed. Which is like that is one of my favorite memories of Onimusha in general, is when he dies in the game, because oh my god, I was so happy when that happened. What's the fourth one? The fourth one is like a woman character. I can't remember her name. God, what's her name? I think it's OU. I think it is actually OU. That is her name. I'm not just saying OU. She's not really that different. Like the other three have like very specific styles. Like when you play as the guy with the spear, like he has some like custom moves with the spear that you don't get when you're playing as your character. Like your character is like a sword specialist. When you're playing as like the gun character, you get like abilities with the guns that you don't get. And when you're playing as the ninja, you get like abilities that you don't get as the ninja. The girl character is just kind of a toned down version of you. Like she's not mechanically, like she's not that interesting or different to play as, which is a little frustrating because the other three offer something different. But yeah, and like that really transitions to what they did in 4. Like 4 was almost more of an action RPG than it was like a straight up action game. Like it was. I really want to go back and play 4 so I can talk about it, more informed, if that makes sense, because it's been probably 8 years since I played that game, and there's a lot to remember about 4. So that's my Onimusha. That's my Onimusha history lesson for you people. It's really good though. It's like really good series of games. Like
I didn't realize there were so many. I thought there was only like a couple.
There's 1, 2, 3. Dawn of Dreams is 4, and there's a shitty fighting game spin-off which was Blade Warriors, which is fucking terrible. There was Genma Onimusha, which was a port of the first one that came onto the Xbox, which is actually really good. That's probably the best version of Onimusha 1 to get if you want to play that. What else was there? I think that's it. There might be... No, I think that is it. I can't think why, but I think there's one I think I'm forgetting. But yeah, just one last note, I guess, to mention on them is just I've always found it a really hard thing to express in words, to properly like, kind of give purpose to what I want to say. But older games, I've always felt that like they had to work harder to create atmosphere and like I don't know, like make their environments and stuff seem more real. If that makes sense.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. As I've said, yeah, I've always found this really hard to express, but like playing through Onimusha is a good example. Like it does a really good job of just kind of making it seem like a real environment. Like the places you're in, it's set in a very very specific time period, and it feels authentic, I guess is the best way I can put it. Like it feels authentic. It feels like it should. And I always just thought like, older games, because they can't rely on like, fucking infinite amount of fucking resources to create these to create these backgrounds and whatever, like they had to work harder to do that. And maybe it's something you can't put into words. Maybe it's not me, but like every time I go back and play like an older game that's kind of got that feel to it, I always feel like they do a better job of it. Because I think, you're doing this, but you're doing this with so like fewer resources than what newer games do this with. Like perfect example, like BioShock is probably the best example of this generation. For me personally, I guess. When I play through BioShock, I feel like Rapture is real. I feel like that is a real place. Like, the sense of immersion for me in that game was so good. I was like, yeah, this could be real. This could be a real place. Like they characterized it so well, and they just all like the nitty gritty details that you don't notice like until they're pointed out to you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And whenever I go back and play like an older game, it feels the same, but I just feel like I feel more impressed by it because they do it with so much less available to them.
Yeah. I think I get what you're trying to say.
Yeah,
the fidelity available doesn't afford them the liberties that you can take with a modern game. There's a lot more nuance in the way that modern games create atmosphere. But
I mean, another good example, I guess. Silent Hill 2, very very good example. Silent Hill 2, one of the most atmospheric games ever for my money. I mean, atmosphere is as subjective as you can get. I don't think you can't say, oh, this is more atmospheric than this or whatever. And compare that with, say, Condemned 1. Condemned 1 doesn't really use next gen shit anyway, because that game doesn't really look very good. But maybe more Condemned 2, the earlier parts of Condemned 2 is a better comparison. But it's kind of the same level of atmosphere, but they just do it in different ways, and they do it with so fewer resources that it's just more impressive for that one reason. It's maybe that is it. It's this is just more impressive because this is on a PS2 and not on a 360. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's it for PS2. What else did I played a couple of things on Xbox. I went back and played a bit of Ninja Gaiden Black on the original Xbox.
All right.
Which is the best game ever, just so people know. And if you disagree with that, you're wrong. Sorry to break it to you, but that's just the way it is. And I was just trying to find something to do in that game because I haven't really got anything new. I'm doing a run at the moment on my 360 rather, because I can actually it spits it out at 1080, so I can record it in HD and stuff like that. But yeah, just kind of played a little bit of that really. That really rekindled my love for the black and white buttons on the original Xbox pad. They should bring those back for the new Xbox. The Xbox One should have black and white buttons on it. God damn it!
They fucked up.
I don't know why. I just really liked the black and white buttons. I thought they were cool.
They felt good. They were a weird shape.
Yeah, they felt right. The triggers were dedicated triggers. It was these are for shooting dudes in the face, or for blocking and centering the camera if you're playing Ninja Gaiden. But these are the triggers. These, the back of the controller is where the fucking triggers are. That is what the Xbox One controller was all about. And, there's no fucking R1 or L1 shit. We have black and white. I just really like the boldness, I guess, of the black and white buttons.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. But I think that pretty much does me for this week. I played, my usual shit, but nobody really needs to hear about that. So, did I play anything different? I'm looking at my stack of games that I've been playing this past week, and I'm trying to,
Sounds like quite a lot.
I'm trying to move around without moving my mic too much. No, that is it. That is all I played this week. So
nice. Oh, that's impressive.
Some good games, man. Old games.
Bit of variety.
Games are good. If you're listening to this and you haven't played some PS2 games or shit, you should play them because they're really good.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go back and play some more PS1 games at some point in the summer.
It annoys me when people can't go back and play old games. I mean, I understand it. I understand not being able to go back to a generation that was before where you got into games. I understand that. But people that have played grew up playing the kind of games that I grew up playing, grew up with an Atari and a fucking Amiga and shit, and yet they can't go back and play a PS2 game or something.
Yeah,
it's really your cutoff is fucking PS2.
I mean, especially if it's a game that you played when you were younger and you have some sort of memories of, if you know what I'm saying. You should. Those are really easy to go back to.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I still, even though it's bad, I enjoyed playing Deadly Alliance. It's that game is bad, but I have so many good memories of playing this game.
Yeah.
I can just play it, and those memories are kind of in the back of my mind while I'm playing it. And I was this is really cool. Resident Evil 1, probably has more than that of any PS1 game for me. The memories of playing Resident Evil 1 was so fucking cool. I could play that game any time I would happily play Resident Evil 1 again. Like,
Yeah.
so
Cool. I guess I should talk about what I did over the last week and a bit. Been more than a week, hasn't it? It's been a while. So last weekend I went to Comic Con again. It's on twice a year in London, and visited that again. Had a good time. Just sort of, you know, like I'm not a massive fan of, I don't cosplay. I'm not interested in any of that. I'm not interested in anime specifically. Um,
I like
um,
how those two are like linked together.
no, I'm also not interested in comics. But
Yeah.
just
To be
the
to be
whole.
fair, Comic Con is not about comics.
No,
Let's
it's
be serious.
absolutely not.
It's not about comics at all.
Very little of it is actually
Yeah.
about that. But like going and seeing other people's costumes and stuff is cool. Like there's an atmosphere there that's really good. Like everyone's
Yeah.
friendly. Bunch of nerds all in one place. It's interesting. And
It's nice not having to like tone down your nerdness, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. And
mean,
this time
You
I
don't
remembered.
have to, but you know what I mean.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this time I remembered to take my 3DS, so it was like
Oh,
infinitely better. And I street passed 144 people, I think,
Okay,
in total.
I'm now going to reveal my ignorance of Nintendo. What the fuck is street passing?
So Street
I've
Pass
never really
is
asked. I don't know what it is.
basically when you have your 3DS on but not open, like the lid closed,
Okay.
it still keeps like the wireless signal on. And if you go past another person who has a 3DS, you basically send your Mii to them, and they send their Mii to you. And basically, what they did is they created an app on the not an app, I suppose it's just like a mini game, effectively, where you can collect puzzle pieces. So like everyone you go past has so when you get your 3DS, you start up and there's the Mii Plaza. You create your Mii, like you would on a Wii or whatever, and then you've got this tie-in game with puzzle pieces, and they assign you like a random puzzle piece from a whole different set of boards. So there's like a Zelda board, there's like a or any kind of Nintendo franchise. There's a Mario one, there's whatever you want.
Yeah.
And you get assigned one random piece to begin with, and then to get the other pieces, you can either spend the play coins, but fuck that, or you have to street pass people. And so when you street pass people, if they have a piece that you don't have, you can take it from them. And it kind of like one of those virus things that just spreads by, you meeting people through the network. And so there's that aspect of it, collecting the pieces. And then there's also like a little mini adventure quest where the people you street pass help you defeat enemies in like a little RPG kind of cute little questy type thing. It's like all really simple stuff, completely meaningless, but it's kind of like engaging enough for it to be entertaining, just like as a kind of socially experiment kind of thing. And on top of that, any game can have street pass, hooks. So like Monster Hunter, if I street pass someone, I get their guild card, so I can see like what hunter rank they are.
So there is a benefit to it. It's not just like pointless shit.
It is kind of pointless shit, but it's
it's
fun
not
pointless shit.
It's not
Like
completely...
you can get stuff out of it. Like I know a lot of people playing like Fire Emblem because that's supposed to come out in Europe recently, and so like all my friends who had Fire Emblem were like, when you street pass people, you can get their character to join your party in Fire Emblem, and you can like play a game effectively. I don't know what the word is for it. Play a turn-based game against them to defeat their squad of players.
Cool.
So yeah, stuff like that. And I've just never had like street passing in the UK is hard because A, it's not like Japan. There's not like the density of people generally, and B, like no one takes their fucking 3DS
I don't know. Aren't
out.
we like one of the most densely populated countries in the world?
I'm talking like in Tokyo or whatever. Like
still,
just...
I think like population density wise, we're pretty fucking high, aren't we?
Possibly. I'm actually not too sure.
I for one think there's far too many fucking people on the street. I'm just putting that out there right now.
That's true.
There's far too many people around.
But also a lot more public transport usage in Japan.
True. I'm like the only person on my bus in the morning that has a PSP or what is
using and people don't take their consoles out. So
everyone's on their fucking iPhone or some shit.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird looking around on a train and just going,
I'm just
everyone's
like, on my
got
PSP,
a fucking iPhone.
playing Tekken. I'm like, you fucking suckers. I'm playing a real game here.
Yeah.
You guys are playing like fucking Columns. Although Columns is the shit. I'm not trying to talk not trying to talk down on columns here. Just saying.
So yeah, other than Street Pass and a bunch of fuckers, they had a game section again, as they do. It's like a small little bit in the center. And the games there they had that I hadn't seen before were Remember Me, and I've only seen like the trailer of that from last year's E3, where they showed off like it's kind of got the environment climby stuff, kind of like Assassin's Creed, and then you go
I
in
got
someone's...
kind of a Mirror's Edge vibe from that.
Like the aesthetic, I can see that. And then you go inside someone's head and like change their memory, and then they murder themselves or something.
Yeah.
What I didn't know is that game's just a beat 'em up. Like,
really?
Yeah, the demo they had on the show floor was literally you're in a room and you beat up a bunch of dudes, and that was more or less it.
Like third-person melee.
Yeah, like Batman Arkham Asylum style.
I'm always up for that. There's not enough.
I'm not sure how good it is because I'm not a particularly good judge of that because I don't really play those types of games. But you should probably have a look at it and make judgments for yourself if that's something you're.
I remember when
like
Capcom were the fucking godfathers of like fucking third-person melee.
True that.
Just like anything that they did like that had that was good.
Yeah.
Like.
What else did they have? They had a massive stand with a bunch of like JRPGs that I didn't really understand or have ever heard of. And then what were we talking about earlier? Oh yeah, they had a new.
We're talking about Tomb Raider.
Oh, Tomb Raider?
You mentioned something about Tomb Raider earlier. I thought.
Oh no, that was something else.
Oh right,
okay. What's the game where you fight like hundreds of thousands of dudes?
Dynasty Warriors?
Yes, they had the new Dynasty Warriors there. And it was funny because we walked up behind someone who was playing it and we were like, is this Dynasty Warriors? It doesn't look like Dynasty Warriors. There's not enough people. And then he came around a corner and there's just fucking 100 dudes that all look the same, like randomly standing still.
Sounds like
whilst
Dynasty
he beat the shit out of them, and it looked like an Xbox game.
Those games are, I don't want to say underrated, but I've always had an affection for Dynasty Warriors. I must admit, like those games have a charm. They really do.
If you can call it that.
Especially 5. Dynasty Warriors 5 was kind of fun. Like those games are not like fucking. They wouldn't end up on my top 10 list or anything, but
Sure.
They are good fun. They are good fun for what they are.
Yeah. Yeah, so there were a few other games there, but nothing really particularly interesting. I think Remember Me was the one I was most interested to see because I totally didn't know that game had such a focus on melee combat.
Yeah.
Which is quite interesting. Other than that, they had quite a big Nintendo stand again because I don't know why, but they seem to have quite good links with Nintendo. They had a bunch of Wii U's set up and all of that jazz that they had last year.
Did you play on a Wii U?
I didn't play on a Wii U. I kind of observed from a distance because it was a lot of like younger people playing Wii U games. And what's really weird is the way Nintendo do their stands. They have a dude on every single console. Like, they have a staff representative standing next to every game at all times.
Is that because you think like people don't know how to play games?
Yes.
That reminds me. That I've only just kind of twigged that actually. That was the same at that Vita event I went to. I think it was last year or the year before in Manchester. Every single fucking game had a dude there, like, oh, this is how you play. And I really just wanted to punch him in the face and be like, dude, I know how to fucking play Wipeout. Like, I'm older than you. You don't need to tell me how to play games. Yeah, maybe there's something to that. I don't know.
Yeah, so that was weird, but I wasn't like particularly surprised.
Yeah,
because they had that last year. So I kind of observed from a distance. The one thing they did have that I was really excited to see was fucking Animal Crossing. They had a little section of a couple of 3DSs playing that, and I like stared at it for a few seconds before I was like, I need to not be here anymore because otherwise I could get infatuated with this, and then moved on with my life.
Any like change of heart on the Wii U?
No. I have nothing against the console itself. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think it's trying to do it. Just doesn't have. The
Oh yeah,
capability
I'm
to back
exactly
up.
the same.
It's great.
I mean, if they brought out a Geometry Wars on it, I'd be all over that shit. But
Yeah. I have my 3DS for Monster Hunter. Like, if I didn't have my 3DS, or it was like I didn't have a 3DS and it was only on Wii U, like I would probably get one. But talking about Monster Hunter, they totally had a little 3DS Street Pass like booth, and they were running tournaments. So like basically it was just like come up and do a time trial in this random 3DS game, and they had a Monster Hunter one, and I did shit, which is kind of depressing. Like I hadn't played Monster Hunter for a while because of exams and stuff, so I wasn't really in the mood for it. Plus, doing like speed runs against monsters using like preset weapons is kind of bad when like so the options of weapons were like longsword, dual sword, or like a load of other slow weapons. And so just anyone who wanted to take a good time just use just the dual swords because you can just get up in a monster's face and just spam the shit out of them. And I haven't used dual swords since I'd like started learning to play Monster Hunter, so I just stuck with what I knew, and the longsword is just too slow to really set a good time on that. On top of that, the longsword was really dull. Like I had got the monster under half health, but then I needed to sharpen the weapon. And I was like, well, fuck it, I can probably kill it without having to sharpen it. I'll just go for it. And then that went really bad. And I was like, fine, I'll have to sharpen it. Started sharpening it, and then literally as the sharpening animation was about to end, I got bodied by the monster. And it cancelled the animation. And I was just like, shit, I just lost so much time. And it just kind of went downhill from there. I did it in like 5 minutes and 3 seconds, and the guy who did it fastest did it like under 3 minutes. So that was kind of depressing.
So quite a way to go then.
Yeah, quite a way. Like 5 minutes.
There's no shame. There's no shame in losing to the best, Brad.
I know I could do it in under 5 minutes if I hadn't made mistakes. Yeah. But like with the longsword, you couldn't have set the best time. I don't think. I have no idea how the dude did it in like 2 minutes 40 or whatever he did. That's ridiculously fast. Like the monster must have stood fucking still and just taken it.
Are you calling this guy out?
No, I'm not calling him out. I'm just saying
your run is full of shit.
He had a good run. Let's say that. So yeah, that was fun. MCM's cool. I'll probably go back again next year.
Cool.
It's just a good day out, really.
I'd like to make it down for that one weekend.
Yeah, it's free.
Think about it. It'd be cool.
So other than that, I did actually play a fair few games because it's been quite a while. I've got a list in front of me. I'm just going to go from the top. I don't know if I mentioned last week that I was considering modding the shit out of Skyrim. Did I mention?
You did.
Yeah, so I finally went through on that. It didn't take as long as I'd expected, but then I had a horrible realization halfway through the process that my Skyrim was actually quite unstable before I added a load of mods.
Okay.
And now I'm not sure if it's gotten worse or it's just the same. I kind of can't remember because it had been so long since I played Skyrim. But yeah, before I'd installed all the new mods I was going to install, it would crash just like to desktop. No error message or anything. It would just hard crash to desktop randomly. And it's continuing to do that. But it's actually really cool, the set of mods I installed. So I'll just kind of run through roughly what I added. It was basically a bunch of survivalism mods. So like the main one was it made it so that depending on which area of the world you're in, it was actually like different temperatures. So if you go like to the far north where there's like blizzards and snowstorms and shit, it was like really, really cold and it would actually affect you. And like at night time, you'd have to build fires to keep yourself warm, or find an actual lodging to stay. And the equipment you wore actually affected how cool or like how cool not how cool, how warm you stayed. And that actually could like result in your death or survival, which is kind of interesting. There was a bunch of other mods like ones that required you to eat food, ones that required you to sleep, to stay healthy, and then all kinds of other stuff as well. And on top of that, I installed a bunch of combat mods and all kinds of cool stuff that basically kind of really changed the way the game plays. One of the most interesting ones that I really enjoyed so far is a mod that makes the damage locational. So like if you hit a dude in the arm, it'll come up like, right arm crippled or whatever, and he'll drop his shield. And it actually affects you as well. So like one time I was in the middle of combat, dude fucking whacked me in the hand and I dropped my sword. And I was like, shit, had no idea what to do.
That's something that I kind of wish they would incorporate themselves.
Yeah, it was actually
yeah.
It was a really cool moment where I was just like, holy shit, I didn't even think of like the implications of that actually happening in a fight.
I love like kind of location-based damage when it's done right. I think it's really fun.
Yeah.
A shout out for that is definitely Shadow of Rome on PS2. If you want to see how to fucking do that kind of combat system, play that game.
Yeah.
Because it does it fucking flawed. Like, it's not really slow, shitty, sluggish combat either. Like, it's really fucking satisfying combat. Like, and it has that kind of system in it.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'd love to play some more of that, but as I said, it crashes from time to time, and I can't really. I don't think I'm ever going to nail down where that problem is. I'd have to do like a clean install and then try remodding it all again, and that's effort. So I'll maybe play it in spates until it crashes and see what I can actually
See what you can do next.
Yeah. It's got a bunch of other things like lighting and stuff to make it look pretty, but I already had loads of prettified mods. Like, goddamn, that game looks so good. It's so impressive. Like the combination of like the draw distance with the levels of detail, and when you download like the high res textures for everything, goddamn, that game is one of the most amazing visual feasts I've seen in years. Especially like the details with all the wildlife. Oh yeah, that's another one of the mods. I got a mod that adds like more wildlife to the, so there's like geese and rats running around indoors when you're inside inns and stuff, cool things like that. And I remember, I don't know if you've played Skyrim. You did play Skyrim, right? Or did you?
Yeah, I did. I only played the 360 version though, so I didn't get all the sexiness.
No, but I mean, this is something you'll remember. Like, when you come out of the tutorial cave and you go outside for the first time and you're with that dude, and then you go down that hill towards a little village. There are like wolves on that path.
Yeah.
Occasionally, yeah. So the first set of wolves I came across, like, normally there's just like one just like chilling in the path. There was a fucking pack of 7 of the things just chilling in the path. I was like, holy shit. And I just turned around and ran the other way as quickly as possible. It was awesome. Things like that are interesting. Yeah, so
I wish I'd played more Skyrim when I had it.
Yeah, you should
I should have played more of that.
I have 80 hours in Skyrim and I still feel like I didn't play it enough.
I have like 15 maybe.
Jesus, how can you do that?
I don't know. I got distracted and like never went back to it.
It was a really good game.
I'm trying, what? I think it was Saints Row. I think Saints Row 3 is the reason I didn't play more Skyrim.
Nah, Saints Row is all right. But...
So I was playing Skyrim, and then I went and played Saints Row, and was like, "Whoa, shit, this is fucking different."
It would have been the other way around for me.
Yeah, I was like, "This is interesting."
I liked Saints Row, but not enough. I don't think, not as much as some people did. Anyway.
What do you think about Saints Row 4? Do you think that's gonna? I really don't think that's gonna have the same.
It can't.
Impact.
It actually can't.
It's like what is it? I think it was like The Ring. Like when The Ring came out, the film, everybody like flipped their shit, and like The Ring 2 came out, and everyone was like, this is just kind of whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like a similar sort of thing. It's like Saints Row 3 just came out at the perfect time. Like
Indeed.
It came out exactly when it needed to for it to just explode, and now I don't do like 4. Just it's not going to have that to go in its favor. It
really looks worryingly like 3.5 to me. But...
I'm kind of fine with that though, because like that's what I want. Like that, there's there is there's a time and a place for doing new shit.
Yeah.
And Saints Row 3 came out, everybody loved it. That's the time when you don't fuck over those people that like that game and say, "Oh, Saints Row 4 is going to be completely different."
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I got more than enough of my fill of
Saints Row 3. I don't think I'll be buying Saints Row 4 day one. I'm just saying, I know that when I do buy it, I know that, I know what I'm getting in, I know what I'm getting myself in for.
Sure.
There's a place for that.
Sure thing. Okay, so that's Elder Scrolls modding shit. I didn't play much Dark Souls from last week, so that's probably not really worth mentioning.
Have you played Demon Souls? Or have you just played Dark Souls?
Just Dark Souls.
Okay.
Just Dark Souls. My cousin's played Demon Souls, and he says, as I've heard from many other people, that it's way harder than Dark Souls.
I really want to play Demon Souls. That game. That sounds like a game that I'd enjoy.
Demon Souls has a different structure as well. Like it's more. That's what I'm looking for. Like there's like a hub world, and then you go out to different levels. Like Dark Souls is an open world kind of thing. You just kind of explore, which I think what I kind of actually like about it quite a lot. It's just kind of like go and see what there is to see in the world.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool. So I got Starseed Pilgrim a long time ago now, and I hadn't ever gotten around to play it. I got it on like several recommendations from people who are like, you know, it's a game for people who are interested in, game mechanics and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I saw it recommended by several indie developers, as well as one of the mods off Giant Bomb tweeted me about it.
Hmm.
And I played. How much did I play of it in the end? I think it's less than an hour. Yeah, I played just under an hour of it, and I'm not feeling it yet. Like,
Okay.
I don't know. Like, I feel like so one of the tweets I saw about it was, keep playing it until, like, as long as you have questions about Starseed Pilgrim, keep playing it. But a lot of the gameplay time I spent in Starseed Pilgrim, like, so it's really hard to describe what the actual game is. Um, I'm really struggling to think where I should start. Basically, I'm gonna simplify it a bit. You have a number above your head, say like 10, and then you have these little symbols which represent different kind of blocks that you can place. And so say you got the number 10, that means you have 10 blocks that you can place, and they're kind of in a cycle of like different types of blocks. So you place one type of block, then the next type of block, and always in the same order.
Hmm.
And so, for example, one of the blocks, the orange one, you place it down, and after a few seconds, it shoots like a straight line in a semi-random direction. I haven't worked out yet if you can force it which direction it goes in. So, like, you might place it, and it just goes left. And you start off on a little square, and you kind of just have to explore outwards from your little square. And obviously, you can only walk on the blocks.
Yeah.
So you got the orange one just goes in a straight line, so it might go horizontal, or it might go vertically, and if you're standing on it, it can take you up, kind of like an elevator, and you can stand on top of it. And then there are other ones, like the pink one, you can destroy blocks that you placed. So for example, the pink one, if you destroy it, it gives you more power-ups, but it grows really slowly. So like all the blocks grow at different rates. So like the yellow one you place, the orange one you place, and it grows really quickly. The pink one grows really slowly, but you can harvest them for more. And as long as there's one left, it'll always spawn another one, and it will just keep spawning them and spawning them and spawning them. And the kind of objective seems to be like you start on this grey square, and around you are black squares that you're trying to get to, like really small black squares. You're on a big grey one, and you're trying to get to these small black ones. When you get to a black one, you get a key. And when you get a key, you can. So when you get to the black, if you touch black, you flip into a different world. So like you're in a world, and when you touch the black, you flip into another world, which is just black and white, all black and white. And the white is where you can walk, and the black are walls. And you can only walk along the patterns made by the blocks you placed. So like if I placed a straight one and got to a key, and then collected the key, I could only walk back along the straight path that I made back to the grey square. I couldn't walk anywhere else because it'd all be blocked. Does that kind of make sense?
It does, I think.
It's like you just
I
take
think
the
it would be a
silhouette.
lot easier if I had played this game.
Yeah, it's kind of like you just take the silhouette of the pattern you made with the blocks that you placed, and then invert it, and you can walk around inside it. I'm not sure if that makes sense. Anyway, so you collect these keys, and then the confusing part about it is there's sort of a world within a world. So like when you use the key, you take the key back to where you started and use the key, you go back a layer. And I don't know how to describe this, but it kind of looks exactly the same as where you were before, but you have even less items to use. And every time you put a key in, you get a few more pieces to place bricks in the previous world.
Mm-hmm.
I really just like at this point, if anyone's listening and trying to understand what I'm saying, I probably sound like a crazy person, and you probably have no idea what I'm describing. The only way I can just describe it better is to say play it, and you might understand.
Yeah,
what
it sounds like just play the game.
So yeah, in this, the whole thing about it is that in this previous world, there seemed to be different places you could go, and I wasn't really sure what the implications of getting to those other places, because you have a more limited resource pool, and those places don't reset. So like it's kind of like you're trying to explore this greater place by doing tasks in the smaller place. But God, it seemed really weird, and it just felt too repetitive. Like the act of placing a block, getting to a key, going back to the previous world, and then just doing the same thing over and over again so I can get a bit further wasn't that engaging. I think that was the problem I had with it.
Yeah.
I'll try and give it another chance, but yeah, I'm not sure if there's like stuff I'm missing. I'm sure the more you play it, the more you understand, and maybe the quicker the process will get, and the more engaging it will become. But for the time being, it was just it wasn't clicking with me, which is a shame because I was really looking forward to playing it, hoping it would be along the lines of something like Fairs or something like Antichamber. You know, those kind of games that have like quickly become firm favorites over the last generation for me. Like it's kind of been starting with Braid, I think, was the
Mhm.
part it started. I've really become infatuated with the whole puzzle platformer idea of just like, here are some really interesting mechanics, explore what you can do with them in just a standard platformer environment.
Yeah.
And yeah, those have quickly become, I guess, my favorite genre almost, because like every time a game like that comes around, I'm really excited for it to see what's different about it. But yeah, that hasn't clicked with me quite yet, which is a shame. Also, it's fucking hard to describe, so I really hope I don't have to talk about it again. I really tried my best. Just play it if you're at all interested in it. I guess is it one of those games as well that you shouldn't say too much about because you don't want your experience, you know.
Yeah.
You don't want to explain to you. It's definitely a thing you have to work out yourself more than anything. Other than that, Payday the Heist was on sale, and me and my cousin were bored and looking for a co-op game, so I played a bit of that. Have you
How
ever?
is that?
It's all right actually. It's kind of like Left 4 Dead-y in like it's just like a 4-player co-op thing. It looks like it's made on the Valve Source engine.
Yeah.
Uh, and the thing is, the first mission of that game is absolutely fucking stellar. Like, Payday the Heist, what you think it's going to be? It's just like going to be like a bank robbery kind of thing, yeah? And the first mission is literally you turn up at a bank and you have no weapons. Like you walk into the bank just casually, like you're going about your business. You can kind of like explore, but if you get too close to the guards, they might see that you're carrying weapons. And you have to locate the bank manager, take him hostage. And you can kind of like position yourself strategically before you kind of engage the actual heist and like go high profile. And that mission was awesome because like you could play it all stealthy, and then once it actually started, like all hell breaks loose. The cops start flooding in. You're trying to break into like the main vault, and you like use like explosives to get into the vault and all kinds of other stuff like that. You like melt the ceiling of the vault and get in. You have to shoot security cameras to like try and hinder the cops' progress. All kind of things like that. Like you take hostages as well. You can incapacitate like civilians and like hold them in place and trade them for your team members who get arrested. And like that was a really cool mission. Like I really liked the setting. I really enjoyed that. And then all the missions we played after that were like linear shooter missions. I was like, what? What happened to the whole bank heist thing? I thought I was like really excited for the game to just be
like a
bank
series of that.
Bank heist,
Yeah.
like just different banks.
Yeah,
different
that does actually sound like a really interesting setup for a game. Like,
yeah, I was really excited for it, and then it just turned into like, now you're gonna do a drugs bust. And I was like, why?
does it then just like
filled with druggies and killed them all and stole all their money and then run away from
it sounds like it just turns into like a third person shooter after that, or a first person shooter. Is it first or third?
Yeah, it's first person. And yeah, it kind of just did, and it was kind of less enjoyable. I think the setting really made it to begin with. And if they just stuck with that and just came up with different ideas, I mean, it can't have been that hard. I'm sure if you made like 10 missions in a row, it'd eventually get boring doing bank heists, but I don't know. There might be more bank heists in it, to be fair. We only played like the first 3 or 4 missions. But I definitely enjoyed the first level the most by far. It was very good, very good. And coincidentally, Payday Heist 2 is out soon, isn't it?
Wow, is it?
Yeah.
Am I that behind?
Yeah, it comes out like next week.
I would admit, like this past 5 months has been a bit of a whirlwind for me, so I'm pretty behind on shit.
Free purchase and get free loot.
Cool.
Don't know what the date is. August. Okay, not that soon. They're just advertising the pre-purchase for it. Then I thought it was sooner than August. I thought it was like in a month or so. The only other thing, I played some more Diablo because I've actually kind of been interested in playing more Diablo for a while now, and I have a friend who's played an absurd amount of Diablo. I'm talking. He has, I think, like 3 classes which he's put over 200 hours each into.
I thought he was going to say 200 days then. I was like, it hasn't been out, has it? Like,
Oh my god, that would be quite strange. No,
I
yeah,
knew I had a friend who'd played World of Warcraft, I think collectively for like 400 days. Like by the time he stopped playing it, that was his total playtime.
god damn,
That is hardcore.
it is indeed. So we recently, I don't know how recently, but one of the more recent patches for Diablo added a thing called Monster Power, which is basically you can increase the hit points and damage monsters do on the difficulty, like any difficulty setting, it just buffs their hit points and damage to gain more experience. So you just basically level up faster from it. And me and my friend decided to put that to the highest, because why not? You know, how hard can Monster Power plus 10 really be? Turns out it's not very hard. In actual fact, it was quite easy. We were only playing on normal difficulty because we both started new characters at level 1 and we're working our way up. Basically, we played the first 2 acts. That game has 4 acts, in case you didn't know. We played through the first 2 acts with Monster Power 10, cranked all the way up, and it was not that challenging really. And then we thought, you know what? Why don't we fight Diablo? So we just quit the level we were on, skipped to the end of the game, fought the end boss, like severely underleveled with the Monster Power turned all the way up, and it took us like half an hour. But eventually we beat Diablo, so
cool.
That was fun. And that was the last thing I really played this week, so that kind of rounds it out.
Cool.
Still no John.
No, John is... I wonder if he's playing something.
He's on Xbox, I can't check, because...
I have no idea.
I don't have it plugged in. He might be. Maybe he just forgot.
Maybe he did, fucking wanker. What's he doing?
4 hours ago.
This is serious business here, man.
Short-term memory loss.
The video games need talking about.
Video games. Well, before we do news, let's take a quick break.
Let's do that.
Alright then, and that brings us to news for the week. I'll just go through a quick section of short stories before we get to the main event. Dark Souls 2 has a firm release date of March 2014, which is quite exciting. I might be interested in getting that when it comes out, considering how much I've been playing Dark Souls recently. And more news about Prey 2 for those who are interested. The fan website that had that weird countdown a while ago, do you remember
that? No, I don't.
We talked about it a bit on the podcast. It was like some website that had it. It was called like prey2.com. I can't remember what it was exactly called, but it had a countdown timer on it that everyone was speculating what it was about. But actually, the site wasn't linked to anyone who actually had worked on Prey 2. It was just a fan website that had a countdown to their release. But they uncovered some news that Prey 2 was... Which developer did it get shuffled to? Went from Human Head Studios to Arcane Austin, the US branch of the team behind Dishonored. And the news that came out from that studio apparently is none of them were particularly happy to be working on Prey 2. I'm not sure if that was related to them having some other thing on their plate that they wanted to be doing instead. But yeah, either way, it doesn't sound particularly promising for Prey 2, does it?
No.
And also all the rumors about that amazing tech demo that got shown at E3 a couple of years ago were that that was heavily fudged, as in like not really representative of what the game actually was. It was just...
I never really thought it was, to be honest.
Yeah.
that was just like one of those trailers that was like, yeah, if you could actually make a game that was kind of like this, it would be cool.
Yeah.
I never really once thought that Prey 2 was anything like that.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's all the menial stuff out the way. I'm sure there's other bits and pieces that we've missed, but you, Joe, enlightened me to the fact that we haven't talked about the Xbox One yet.
No, we have not. The Xbox One, Brad. The Xbox One.
One what?
There's a new Xbox. Let's move on.
The original Xbox. They're re-releasing the original Xbox.
Yes, they are.
Fucking hell. Can't wait.
And it's amazing, isn't it? Like, nobody saw it coming. Nobody saw this coming.
We didn't predict that.
No,
that's for
we
sure.
did not. We were.
I can't even remember what our predictions were.
I don't know.
You predicted they'd fuck up the controller, and I guess
Which,
they
from the
kinda
looks of
did.
it, I don't know. I could be right about that, man. They
Yeah.
look a lot like PS3 triggers to me, and that would certainly qualify fucking up your controller.
But they do have rumble.
Well, the next generation has arrived again.
The triggers have rumble.
Well, like in them.
Yes, as in when you press the triggers, it rumbles.
Okay.
This is one of the big new features they're touting for the controller.
Awesome. I'm sold already. I'm pre-ordering my console right now.
I knew that'd be something you'd be behind. So I guess we should kind of run down as much info as we can possibly get through that is relevant. Where's the link I fucking posted? Jesus Christ. Where's the link? I posted a link a long time ago to a bunch of information about the Xbox One, blah, 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 blah. Here we go. So the first thing I guess we should mention is that you didn't watch the show, did you?
No, I didn't. I A, haven't got the time, and B, have not got the desire to either. So
I love these kind of things. I don't know why. I must be like sadistic or something, but all these press conferences and shit like that, I find innately fascinating.
I can't stand them. I really am the opposite. I absolutely can't stand them.
I put up with all the bullshit just because of the excitement of the one new thing that they might announce in every one. You know, do you not get that like little bit of excitement? Like they
No.
could say fucking anything right now.
They're
They could
not
say they're
for
not making consoles anymore.
those conferences aren't for us. That's why I don't watch them. Like, they are not for us. They're for the fucking Netflix crowd or whatever the fuck else the new Xbox is.
Well, yeah,
they're
this
for
one.
the fucking people that have Kinect. That is the
I guess
staple I'm giving them. Stigma, rather, not staple.
this.
That's who
This
they're
one-
for. Like,
By being on TV, this one was definitely aimed at a more casual audience.
Yeah.
And it really reflected. Like, I was kind of disappointed with what they showed, especially compared
everything
to
I've
the-
heard, I'm like, oh my god. I'm not really surprised, but I am a bit. I'm surprised at how much they didn't really address like the gaming stuff.
Yes.
Like the people flipping out about Kinect and TV and all this shit. Wake up, people. Seriously, just that's all I'm gonna say. Just wake up. Stop living in your bubble. But still, like, to the extent to which they didn't really talk about the gaming side of it, I was surprised at. Sony had like a lot of non-gaming stuff in theirs, but I felt they did a really good job of still making you think, yeah, this is going to be a decent games console that I want to own.
The thing they did, the non-gaming stuff, sorry, that they mentioned, they still related it to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
games.
that's true.
There's stuff like not Twitch, sorry, the Ustream integration, being able to, the interface stuff where you can view what your friends are playing and all that kind of shit. Whilst obviously not actually focused on the quality of the games that they're going to be putting out, was still tangentially related
Yeah.
to games. And some of that stuff was exciting. Most of what Microsoft said was absolutely fucking boring.
Yep. I think like it just really kind of hammers it home that like they are moving away from like games being their primary focus for this thing. Like,
Yeah.
Maybe not primary, like games are, obviously still going to be the primary focus, but I feel like, it's going to be like, if you were to break it down, 51% of this is a games console. The remaining 49% isn't. Like, it's just barely like primarily a games console, like
Yeah.
the minimum amount. The rest is like other entertainment shit that it can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they really focused on like the television stuff and all of that kind of stuff for the kind of audience that they were aiming at for the little show that they did. I guess we should start by talking about the first thing that they came out and really did, much unlike much unlike what Sony did, they came out and showed the fucking thing. That
Yeah.
was one of the first things they did in the conference. They were like, "Hey, here's our stupid console. It looks like a VCR."
I seem to be the only one person. I actually really like the way it looks.
I like the way it looks in a kind of fuck yeah, it's retro.
Yeah, I like that. I'm like, yeah, it's big. It's fucking big.
Here's this
black,
monolith
fucking-
that you're gonna have in your living
Yeah,
room.
like, it's
like fuck off
bulky.
everyone else.
Yeah, I like that. You know, it's big, bulky, and it's like that is a fucking like that console would like kick another console's fucking head in. Like it's
Yeah.
fucking tough. I like that. Like I think that's
I
cool.
can appreciate it. I can say that much.
I
at
think it's
least.
cool. I think they
It's
did
got
the right thing.
hella grills all over it.
Yeah, like the PS4 better be like fucking made of brick or something.
Man, I'd love if they just came out and the whole thing was made of metal, just like brushed
Oh,
steel.
cool.
And if it was all brushed steel,
Yeah.
oh my god, that'd be
Like
disgusting.
a hitbox.
beautiful.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
But yeah, like I do think it looks cool. I must say, I do like the like the aesthetic design of the
Yeah,
system.
it's very minimalistic as well. Like there's very little branding on it. There's no Xbox
Yeah.
One written on it. The front is completely blank apart from a giant Xbox symbol. It says Xbox on literally one place on the thing, and the rest of it is just like matte or shiny black. It's like they couldn't decide. Are we gonna make it matte or are we gonna make? Let's just make it both.
Do both. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Nothing-
think I
can't
do
go
think the
wrong.
design is cool.
Yeah.
I do like the design.
I like it in a weird way. I feel like I shouldn't like it.
I just full on like it. I think it looks cool.
Yeah. I guess we should drop down some specs in case that's your thing. It appears to be running on the same Jaguar AMD CPU GPU chip that the PS4 is using. They're using 8 gig of RAM as well, although it's not the kind of shared thing that Sony's doing. They're just splitting it normally between the GPU and the CPU separately.
Mhm.
Also, it's not the GDDR5 which Sony was touting, so theoretically it should be a bit cheaper. Otherwise, the
Yeah.
specs are really similar. Like there's
I think that's fairly
at a glance,
expected.
there's
Really,
not really that much
Yeah.
difference. The only thing that was interesting was they confirmed 500 gig hard drive.
that really shocked me. I must admit.
I'm pleased, but also kind of disappointed there isn't going to be like a bigger option. It seems like they're only doing one SKU at launch. Like they're doing
yeah.
connectors packed in, guaranteed. 500 gig hard drive, guaranteed. Like what? They can't really do any different bundles.
I'm okay with that. I don't like bundles. Like it's because I mean, like when the 360 came out, you know, who the fuck bought a core? Like,
I did,
okay, well you're.
but that's because my shop had sold out of
yeah, but
of premiums.
yeah, exactly. Like, you know, who willingly was like, yeah, I don't want a hard drive. Okay, you know, like I don't like bundles because all it does is like all it really is making a way. It's a way of making the more expensive version seem better value because you know you have like a £300 version, you have a £350 version. You tell yourself, oh, with the £350 version, I get this, and this. When really you should be getting all of that anyway. They just can't afford to sell it you cheaper, so they're doing this way instead. Like,
I think it's also for like you know, the mums who are buying consoles for their kids so they can get, you know, there's a more reasonable, like, because they can see both the prices. They're going to go, oh, that one's really expensive, but then, oh, there is another one that isn't that expensive, I guess.
oh yeah, I mean that's true. But I mean, I know there was like when the 360 came out, there was a lot of, I don't know to the extent which it really affected anything. It probably wasn't that much, but there was like conflict between developing games that you know needed a hard drive like for saves and stuff because they had to take into account that you know so many percentages of 360s out there were cores and they didn't have a hard drive. So this eliminates that like even potentially being a problem, which is good.
On top of that, the controller looks like an absolute piece of shit.
It looks more or less the same. It just looks really fucking cheap. Looks cheap and nasty.
All of the things they've done to it I don't like, except for making the backs of the buttons black. if you know what I mean. You know,
Yeah,
the inside of the little see-through
Yeah.
plastic is black. That's the only thing I like about the new controller. So I don't. If you haven't seen it, I'm gonna kind of try and run down what it looks like. Actually, I do like the new analog sticks. I'll give them that much. So the analog sticks are now ridged at the edges, so they're the same kind of indented style sticks that they had before. But all the way around the outside, there's kind of like a little grippy ring.
The PS4
to
ones
catch
are
your
like
finger
that
on.
too, aren't they?
Yes,
Yeah, I was
they've
gonna say, they
moved
look
away
very
from the convex buttons and
Yeah.
gone for the concave ones, which is thank fucking god for that. PS3 sticks always felt too long because they were raised up. It was horrible.
PS3 sticks, I don't find have as much grip either. Like even
Yeah.
like even just regularly using like when I was playing Onimusha, I was using the D-pad, but like kind of having that analog stick there, I was like it felt different. You know, just like the texture on top, like it felt like it had more grip than a PS3 pad. Like maybe that's just me. But like PS3 analog sticks feel very smooth and there's there's not a lot of traction on them. So
The other things they've done is the D-pad has finally been destroyed. They've found a new D-pad.
it
actually
still looks like a piece of shit.
It looks spongy, but the thing is, it actually looks more like a Nintendo D-pad.
It's still like one piece though, isn't it?
So's the Nintendo D-pad.
Yeah, the Nintendo D-pad is shit too. The way to do a D-pad is 4 separate buttons. That is not rocket science. Like,
It's not raised up as well. It's in a little concave section of the controller. Interestingly to note, the left analog stick is more flush to the controller than it is on the 360. I don't know if you noticed that.
really?
I think it's the whole face of the controller is flatter than the 360 controller. You know, the 360 controller curves away a lot.
Oh
at the
yeah,
edges.
I did kind of that. Yeah, that's what I couldn't put my finger on when I
The
said
left analog
shitty.
stick
It does doesn't look as
It looks like
raised.
it's
It's
been
kinda
smashed against the wall, like someone's face has just been smushed up against the wall and then turned into a controller.
yeah.
It looks really like flat at the front. The start and back buttons have been replaced with what appear to be multitasking and menu buttons. They have no names; they're just symbols.
There's no guide button either, is there?
That thing at the top is a guide button.
Oh right, okay. I heard that. I heard the only way to get your guide was to use the what's it called? Kinect thing. Like you had to say guide.
I'm fairly sure that's a button at the top.
I really
see
hope that isn't
cracks around the
case,
edges,
'cause-
so I assume it's a button.
Yeah, I really like the guide button on the 360. I like.
I
the way it
really
works.
hate the way they've made the controller really tall as well. Like, imagine how awkward it's going to be to press that button.
Yeah,
You're going to have to
New
actually
controllers,
physically move your hand up to the top of the controller
Yeah.
to push the guide
I'd
button. They
be-
should have just kept it in the fucking middle.
yeah. I'd be I'm always interested in like when they redesign a controller. I mean, Sony have never really done it. Like for the most part, the
Yeah.
PS3 controller is exactly the same as the PS1 controller, except it has analog sticks.
Yeah.
And crappy triggers. But I'd be really interested to hear, like the design and influence process of redesigning the 360 controller. It's wildly accepted that it's better. It's the best controller. Like, the D-pad for me is just a very personal pet peeve because I like to play fighting games, and you cannot play fighting games with that D-pad. You just fucking can't. So if they fix that, if they give us a decent D-pad. Like, maybe Sony have got crazy fucking patents on that style of D-pad. Like, it's impossible to make one even similar, which is fair enough. But still, at least make it a little bit better. Like, there's got to be a way. And that's really the only thing that pretty much everybody, I mean, like, nobody is saying that the 360 D-pad is really, really good, because it's, I mean, if they are, you're wrong. But it's not a good D-pad. Like, even the twisty D-pad, it's better, but it's still not great. And, where has this push come from to, completely change it? Like, the triggers look very different to me. The bumpers look different. Making it taller, altering the shape of it. Like, it fits your hands so well. Like, a 360 controller really, like, just feels comfortable to rest in your hands.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
didn't think much was wrong with the 360
Yeah, like
controller. I'm
where
quite
has
sad
this
with
come
the
from?
changes.
It just seems for the sake of it, doesn't it? It's like, oh, a new console, new controller. Like,
Mm.
if Sony had managed to get their triggers right, on the PS3, because I mean, in their defense, like the 360 style analog sticks, although the original the original Xbox pad has like indented analog sticks, not to the extent of the 360, I don't think, but it still had them.
Yeah.
You know, they would have had like a really solid controller, but the triggers on the PS3 just aren't very good. They don't feel good to use. Where has this push come from to like redesign the whole fucking thing?
Yeah, I really don't know.
It's
It doesn't look
it
great.
always just, I don't know. It's a like, you know, your controller is as important as your fucking console at the end of the day. Like when you think about it, you can't
Yeah.
fucking use your console without a controller. So it seems really strange that they do that.
Yeah.
But that kind of does prove one of my predictions.
Yes,
I
indeed it does.
predicted they were gonna fuck up their controller, and I was right.
Yeah. Moving on then. The other things they talked about were that the console is gonna run multiple operating systems. Apparently, it has two, one dedicated to, the games running part of it, and one dedicated to running other kinds of apps like Skype and Internet Explorer and such. And that's how they're gonna make it so that you can switch really snappily between the two apps at the same time. So kind of like Windows 8, you're going to be able to snap apps to 1/3 of the screen. So like if you want to have Skype at the side of the screen whilst you're doing something else like on the internet or whatever,
That sounds
you're
good.
able to snap it like that. So yeah, the multitasking aspect of it at least looks pretty good, and it looked pretty fast from the live demo they gave on stage, which was good. And he was controlling it all via his voice via Kinect. And I think the best thing about the voice Kinect stuff was that you could use multiple phrases, so it doesn't just recognize Xbox blank. It
Yeah.
was like play a movie, watch TV, play music, and like you could vary on verbs and nouns, and it would generally seem like you could almost use any sensible phrase for what you wanted to do, and it should be able to work it out.
That's cool.
Which is really cool because I really like voice commands.
You're a bad person. You're part of the problem.
I think
You're
if
part
you do
of
voice
the
commands
problem,
right,
Brad.
but imagine it if you could skip like 10 layers deep into a menu without pressing a single button, like without having to go through
There's
like
a solution to that though.
and then fucking the
Better
next
menu
section.
design.
If I can just go like on the current Xbox, you have to scroll over to the settings tab. If you want to delete something off your hard drive, you have to scroll over to the settings tab, go to the hard drive, choose the actual hard drive it's on. Imagine if you could do that.
I
kind
know.
of shit with,
That's
like,
a pain in
one
the arse.
phrase.
But I think, yeah, it would be cool if you could do that. But maybe I'm just old-fashioned. I just don't see why there can't be like a hotkey on the guide for hard drive. Like, when you bring up the guide button, you have like dashboard messages. Why isn't there just hard drive right there?
I
think that should be. I would prefer that rather than.
Because they need the space to put a sick advert for.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what like menu design is one thing. I'm on my PC now. Like I can just press computer and I can see all my hard drives and I can do whatever the fuck I want. I don't have to go through fucking God knows how many layers of really slow, unresponsive shit to get to my fucking hard drive.
Yeah, that's true. The other thing they mentioned was they're really pushing cloud services with the One. And obviously there's been loads of fucking, people on the internet getting angry about the whole needing to be connected to the internet every 24 hours or whatever. As far as I'm aware, none of that information is solidified. So if you hear a rumor of someone saying, oh, you have to be online every day or every minute or they're going to ban you or anything like that, it's complete bullshit and it hasn't actually been confirmed. And it's not your fault for believing it. It's Microsoft's fault for not giving out a clear message.
Clear info.
Yeah, that's the real problem there. But the interesting stuff that they did say about the cloud service stuff was apparently Xbox Live currently has 15,000 servers. That's what they use to run Xbox Live. And they're claiming that they're going to upgrade that number to 300,000 servers. And again, following a lot of technically minded people on Twitter, a lot of them were saying there's no way anyone can afford to run that many servers, regardless of what service you're running. So, like, if it was just specifically for Xbox, so people were speculating, like, if they're really aiming at that number, they're probably going to be using it for more than just Xbox, and it's just kind of a hype marketing figure that they're spamming out there that isn't actually real. But the implications of this is they're going to be doing a lot of cloud storage. Apparently, profiles, game saves, music, movies, and the games themselves are going to be stored on the cloud. And in fact, one of the things they talked about was that the Xbox One is going to be able to do processing on the cloud. So games will be able to, process kind of almost Gaikai style, but not like streaming the content back to you, just streaming data back to you to make your game look better. I don't know what, like, extra processing power through the cloud. I don't really know what that involves, but apparently they're going to make more powerful games than the Xbox One itself would be able to run on the Xbox One by using the cloud. If that makes sense.
It does make sense, but
that sounds like futuristic mumbo jumbo bullshit.
Yeah, it makes sense, but I'm calling bullshit on that. Like, that's bullshit.
Absolutely. Because, like,
and now the more that I think about it, that doesn't make sense. Actually.
What happens if you aren't connected to the internet?
You're fucked.
And you're trying to play a game that can't run on the console. Then what?
Yeah, I know. And to touch on that though, like, the argument that that is an obscene thing.
Or if your internet dies whilst you're playing, does the game just crash? Like, sorry, I couldn't load this asset because I was trying to get it from the cloud.
If there are, if there are things put in place, to account for that happening, then that's okay, I guess. Like, as long as they make it so that isn't gonna, you're never gonna get to the point where, my dog just bit my fucking cable in half. I'm fucked. And now I can't play my games. Like, if they can kind of, like, maybe it's like some kind of backup or something like that does it like every so often, so that if that does happen, you can still play.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Mm-hmm. Apparently achievements have been reworked. So there's not too much information on this, but apparently they're going to make them, obviously, one of the limitations of Xbox at the moment is if you want to add more achievements to your game or even change the way they work, you have to basically release DLC to add extra achievements to your game. And it has to be paid DLC at that as well. Apparently Microsoft's going to make it so that the achievements can be more reactionary. So, like, if there's a specific thing that the community has found, like, to do in a game, for example, something like Griffball, I guess, they could add, like, you could just add achievements for a specific game mode or a way of playing or some kind of objective that becomes more popular. I think a really interesting way to use that would be, say there's an area of your game that's being neglected but you think is really good. You could add an achievement to get people playing, like, a game mode that is underplayed on multiplayer or something.
Mm-hmm.
That might be cool to see something like that. But again, there's nothing really been said about that much. By the way, I'm skipping over all the TV-related, sports-related bullshit that they talked about because I literally don't. Because
we're a game podcast.
Yeah, we want to talk about games. Unfortunately, though, I am going to talk about Kinect.
Get the fuck out.
It's telling that the thing that I found most interesting out of the entire Microsoft conference thing that they did was the stuff that they talked about Kinect.
You're a terrible person, Brad.
Have you watched this Kinect video on the article I sent earlier?
No, because I just don't care.
Seriously?
Like, I'm like, it could be cool and everything. I'm sure it works and I'm sure it's great. I just don't care. I do not.
In the dark.
I don't care about Kinect. I want to play games with a fucking controller.
No, but that's the thing. They're allowing it now that you can use a controller and connect at the same time.
I don't care. I just want my controller.
No, but do you not see, like, it's like having extra buttons. If they include simple gestures. So, like, this is something I mentioned ages ago, like, literally ages ago now. Imagine if you're playing a first-person shooter and you could lean round corners by leaning without having to press any buttons, and it would be analog, and it would be awesome.
It would never work, though, because it would never be responsive enough. It just wouldn't. Like leaning is in games. Like, you can lean in shooters already.
Yeah, but they didn't add any new buttons, so what are you going to do it with?
Well, you can do it on a lot of PC shooters. I mean,
yeah,
some
PC
PC
keyboard.
Shooters have it. Yeah, exactly. So,
or you have Track IR, which you lean with your body.
Like, Oh, just no. The two. There are so many examples of this. Like the two do not go together. You have one or the other. Like, or you have like a peripheral that's built for it, like Move or something. Like the two do not go together. There's a billion and one examples of it. Like,
I really hope that Rise game gets shown at E3 and it's like the most fucking epic thing ever. Because you remember that Rome thing? Like you were in ancient Rome and it was like controlled with Kinect. They showed like 2 years ago.
vaguely.
Yeah, that's going to be controlled with the controller and Kinect at the same time.
Ah, okay.
And if that turns out to be awesome,
I mean,
just saying.
I'd like it to be. I really would. Don't get me wrong, but there are just too many examples of it being shit for me to get excited about it yet. Like there are too many examples of it being shit, like for me to think anything else. Like for me to believe, I will have to play it and be like, oh my god, this actually works. Okay, I'm now convinced. Like until that happens, I'm never going to be convinced. It's, you know, like I'm going to have to see the ghost in this instance. Like
What about Call of Duty Dog? Will that convince you?
the dog in Call of Duty is the best idea ever.
Is it me? Or when I saw that, I was just like, so Call of Duty Ghosts is Fable 2. Or is it Fable 4? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. Have you seen that what's the fucking dude's name? He plays Snape in the Harry Potter films and he's
Yeah, I know the guy.
in Die Hard. What the fuck is his name? Alan Rickman. Is it? Is that him?
I have no idea.
I think it's him. Anyway, have you seen that like gif of him just like throwing the desk like up and like all the stuff comes off it and everything?
No.
You seen that one? Hey, that's like what I kind of felt like when I heard about the dog in Call of Duty. I was like, right, that's it. Like, there's nothing that the Call of Duty crowd won't accept.
Talk about running out of ideas.
Yeah, but
when your
in a
fucking reveal trailer, the best thing you
Yeah.
have to say is, "There's a dog now.
We mocapped a dog, bitches. Like,
Now there's a dog with you. It'll probably die at some point. I don't know."
yeah, you know though, like, whatever. You know what? Like, the Call of Duty craze is here to stay, man. It ain't fucking going anywhere. So,
I fucking wish it was.
if in the next Call of Duty I've got like a fucking dragon on my back that I can like ride with a red dot sight and shoot flame, yeah, it's cool, man. You just do whatever you want because
I don't care anymore.
I don't care. Yeah, like I really don't care anymore. You know, I still haven't played Black Ops 2, even though like that is supposedly does some interesting shit. But yeah, Call of Duty Fable. I have a dog, bro. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Have you seen that video of Peter Molyneux talking about Fable 2?
what?
Where he's like, we've got this cool new invention.
Yeah, that's what really
it's
made
called
me.
the dog.
That's what really put me off Fable 2. I think it's because I don't like dogs. Like I seem to be very alone in my not liking of dogs crowd. I really hate dogs. They're just annoying and needy.
Peter Molyneux invented the dog, so
Yeah, and yeah, like what if you could have a cat? Think how more awesome it would be to have like a fucking lion. Okay, let's go down this train of thought here for a second. Okay,
all right.
Call of Duty Ghosts, right?
Yeah.
Remove the dog. You have a fucking lion with like a fucking tactical vest on it and like fucking like armor.
It's got grenades.
Yeah, and like armor on his legs and shit. Like,
Can I buy lion? I can't even say it. Can I buy lion armor as DLC?
yes, you can. You can buy lion armor. And
200 Microsoft points.
yes, and there's specially like engineered guns that he can fire them like with his face.
Shoulder-mounted machine guns on a lion. Oh, we should make a fucking video game.
Exactly. Now that's what I'm talking about. Now, what is cooler, that or a dog?
We should take Tokyo Jungle, but just equip all of the animals with weapons. How awesome! It'd be like
Exactly.
that game Full Auto, where there were guns on cars, but guns on animals. And they're all armored. Oh god, that'd be such a good game. Jesus Christ, someone needs to make that.
It really would.
It actually would. That's the bad thing. It actually
Really
would
would
be
be
a good
great.
game. Oh my
What were we
god.
talking about?
Oh, fuck it. New consoles.
Yeah.
That's pretty much everything.
Hey, here's a
no,
fun idea.
that's-
Sales figures for this Call of Duty. Do you think it will do better?
Has one done worse yet?
Nope.
It hasn't.
Since Modern Warfare 2, one that they've just been making more and more on them.
I think it'll do about the same. I won't. It might not do better, but it'll get close at least.
I'm going to go with history. I think it will do better.
I
think,
don't understand anymore.
I think it's got to the point where, like, the people that are just invested buy it all the time, and just, even if they only get like a 2,000 more people interested in it that weren't before, it's going to do better. Like,
Yeah.
I just think it's got to that point now.
I just don't understand. I'm struggling to see why people still play that game.
If it's your thing, it's your thing. I mean,
I guess.
it's everybody has it. Like, until Ninja Gaiden 3. Actually, no, I take that back. Until Sigma 2, I had that. Like, Ninja Gaiden Black, Ninja Gaiden 1, Ninja Gaiden Sigma, Ninja Gaiden 2. I was like, if you carry on making really, really fucking good games, I'm gonna keep buying them. I mean, that's not strictly true, because Ninja Gaiden 2 was pretty damn different from the engine before it, but still, it's. I mean, that's the thing. That's always the thing with Call of Duty. Really, like, they're not bad games, so they don't really deserve to fail. Like, if you don't like them, whatever. I don't like them. Like, the multiplayer does absolutely nothing for me. I think it's shit and boring. But, that's fine. Other people like them, so fill your boots. Like, I don't care. Like, my only problem with Call of Duty comes from the people that are like, oh, Call of Duty's so terrible. It's
it's not a bad game.
It's like, no, it's a lot of things. It's terrible is not one of them. But, it might not be your cup of tea, but
yeah,
that's not their problem. That's not Activision's problem.
I think I've come to realize that the thing I am most excited about for the next generation is 64-bit becoming standard and large amounts of RAM becoming standard for PC games.
Yeah,
there are going to be native 64-bit apps for every PC game. They're all going to use like 4 gig of RAM. It's going to be awesome.
Do you think, like, with this jump in spec, like, hopefully, like, 60 frames a second will be standard? Like,
you mean on consoles? Or
yeah, on consoles. You think it's like 60 frames a second or go home?
I think it'll be eye candy or go home. Like, I don't really think it's in the general public just won't notice.
Yeah, but
they don't. No, but the thing is, they don't know what they're missing, kind of thing.
I know.
It's like if you haven't been exposed to 60 FPS, you're not going to cry about the fact that it's not there.
Play a fighting game, and you'll fucking see what 60 frames a second is. Like,
well, I guess Call of Duty is, but I mean,
Call of Duty.
People don't notice that. Like, someone's not going to go from Call of Duty to another shooter and be able to point out the thing that's different is the fact that the frame rate's half. It's just not something
though, that's
you're going to
just
notice.
Something that I can't comprehend that. Like, I know, like, we're not, the common factor here.
Yeah.
But like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, whenever I'm playing a game that is 60 frames a second, like when Rage came out, it was a perfect example. I was playing Rage a shitload when it first came out. I really liked that game. And then about 2 weeks later, I went and played some Gears with a few friends, and it hit me like a truck when I was playing Gears of War. I was like, holy shit, this is not 60 frames a second. Like, I find it weird that people don't notice it. That's very strange to me.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. But it's definitely one of those, once you see it, you see it, but before then, you can easily glance over it.
I guess, yeah, it's like one of those optical illusions almost, like,
Almost, yeah.
Once you see it, it's like, oh yeah, I can never not see this now.
I can't unsee.
You can't unsee it. It's like the Resident Evil 6 logo. Like, once you see it, you can never unsee it.
Yeah.
That happened to me actually with the cover of Resident Evil 2. Fun fact. I always thought that was a moon, and it's actually half a zombie's face. And I remember when I noticed that it was a face, I was like, oh shit, that's not a moon. I don't know why I thought it was a moon. It's just
That's weird.
I don't know. I was like fucking 10 when that game came out. So
Fair enough. Man, I'm tired.
is that there's got to be more to the Xbox One than that, right?
Nothing that we would care about.
Yeah, true.
What didn't I mention?
500 gig hard drive is cool.
It's a good start.
I am happy that they did that. It's not user upgradable though, is it?
Don't believe so.
No.
You know what's also not? Oh yeah, that's another thing. The controller uses AA batteries. That's not a rechargeable controller.
Fucking serious?
Yep. It's
wow.
Batteries.
I wonder if like Microsoft have got like a fucking like tie-in with like a battery company or something. Like,
they fucking must. Like
that seems very strange.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, does that mean it's gonna have a fucking battery pack on it again?
Well, if you look at the back of it, I don't know if you've seen, it's flush now.
Yeah,
there
I
isn't
was
a
thinking
sticky out battery
that's what
pack.
made I thought.
But if you look at the size of the panel, you could easily get at least 3 AA's in there.
All right. Oh god.
It looks like more AA's, and I assume that's because of the extra motor they've got in there for the rumble on the triggers.
You know, if it's flush, if they get rid of the battery pack, I'm okay with that, really.
It is flush at the back. It is definitely
batteries aren't that expensive. You can get rechargeable ones, so that's fair enough. Like the biggest thing for me was the really fucking horrible battery pack that I just don't like. Like
I never really noticed it because like you just kind of rest your fingers in between it.
Yeah, but I like not having it. Like when I play games on my PC, I use my wired pad, and I notice
the only thing I like about the wired pad is how light it is.
Yeah, it is light. It still feels solid though.
No, but I mean that's what I'm saying. I prefer how light it is because of the fact I don't have 2 batteries weighing it down.
I don't necessarily like a heavy controller. I just like a controller to feel solid. You know, like I hate.
I'm just looking comparatively
controllers.
Oh yeah, those are way too fucking light.
I hate.
It feels like you're gonna snap it in half.
Yeah, they've got no weight to them. They feel shitty.
There's like no balance on it.
Yeah, like the DualShocks are heavier, obviously, because they've got the rumble in them. But the DualShocks feel more solid. They feel like they feel better.
You
the
know
six axis just feel horrible.
You know what Microsoft should have done for their controller, right? They should have taken the wired controller, the Xbox controller,
and just done that. I agree.
And chopped the wire off, found a way to squeeze a small battery pack into it, built in, and then
have you ever
changed anything at all?
Yeah,
this controller without a cable on it would literally be perfect.
Yeah,
I can't see a thing wrong with it.
Have you seen the battery that's in the PS3 controller?
No.
It's like a like iPhone-esque battery. It's like it's like a rectangle, but it's like really thin and long, and it just kind of goes on the back of the circuit board like in a bracket. Like they didn't have to alter the size, I don't think, at all to get that in there. Like because it's just a flat battery. Like they could have just done that, and it would have been like they wouldn't have even needed to worry about fitting it in there.
Yeah, put one of those in. Maybe put those new analog sticks on because they look nice, and replace the D-pad with something that doesn't suck.
Yeah.
Perfect controller.
The control redesign is just dumb. Converter manufacturers are going to be in business still, I think.
Yeah, that's true. All right then, I guess that wraps it up for this week. Unless you had any other stories you particularly wanted to point out, or anything?
No, not really. I saw Django Unchained this weekend.
Oh, really? That film's really good.
Yeah, that film is really good. That is
like really good.
top 3 Quentin Tarantino films, I'd say actually.
Mm-hmm.
Easily.
I need to see Reservoir Dogs.
Reservoir Dogs is good. You should also. Jackie Brown is easily like the most like untalked about Quentin Tarantino film. You should really watch Jackie Brown.
I need to. I think the only ones I've seen before Django was Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction's good.
Yeah, I really like Pulp Fiction.
That doesn't need to be said, but Jackie Brown is just very, very underappreciated in my opinion.
Cool. I suppose that's it then.
Yeah.
Email us, themightyelectronicbox@gmail.com. Tweet at us at TMEBpodcast. We're on iTunes. Just search our name on there. We're on YouTube because Giant Bomb sucks and won't allow us to embed